morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday for you here today. We're going to be getting into the book of James today. James, if you didn't know, is the half-brother of Jesus. And this letter, or this book, is primarily written to what most scholars believe is written to Jewish believers. And there would have been some persecution they were going through. And so that is the consensus, that's what this is written towards. So we're going to kick off the book of James and see where the Lord might lead us in that. So picking up in James chapter 1, verses 2 through 4. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Now, there's really not a lot that I could go into from the standpoint of depth in a really, 2 or 3 minute devotion. There's a lot here if you want to break it down in a Bible study, but that's not what this is. So we'll stick with kind of the basics where it says, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds. So let's break down who he's talking to. He's talking to his brothers and sisters. So these are people who are like-minded in the faith, people who believe what he believes, people who have an understanding that James has. So he's talking to people who would understand his context, who would understand the language that he's using, people who would be in his ebb and flow of life. So he says, consider it pure joy when you face trials of many kinds. So we can assume then that he knew something that maybe we didn't know or we don't know, is that these first century believers, in particular these Jewish believers, were facing some kind of trials. There was probably a lot of trials going on. And I would estimate that for the Jewish believer, some of the great trials that they would have been dealing with is this abandonment of their faith, or what would have been perceived as that. Now, it's not an abandonment of their faith. It's simply a fulfillment of their faith. But that could have been one of the trials that they could have been facing, the separation of family members and all of those kind of things. But there's all kinds of trials that people would have been facing in this first century. And so he says, consider it pure joy. How do you do that? Because I don't know. I really don't know. I've really tried to sit down and say, how am I supposed to, consider it pure joy when I'm going through what seems like hell? Job went through the worst scenario in the world and he didn't seem to consider it pure joy. And try telling this to a mother who's lost a child or something like that. Well, that's really not the point. He goes on to say why we should consider it pure joy, even though he doesn't really tell us how, but in the why is the how. He says, because you know. You know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. So the why, consider it pure joy, because there's going to be a reward at the end. There's going to be a resolve. And by your faith growing, you will persevere. And persevering is no bad thing. And then he finishes up by saying, let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. And what I like about this is he talks about that it's perseverance that has to finish the work, not necessarily you. You have to kind of endure the trial, endure the hardship. But what do we know about God? God is the author and the perfecter of your faith. So nothing's going to happen to you in your life that God is not going to use to bring himself glory and a blessing for you. So no matter what it is you might find yourself going through, do your best to find joy in it. Here's always something that you can lean on to bring yourself joy. 2 simple facts. 1, God is good. Imagine if he wasn't. You don't have to, because he is. God is good and his love endures forever. So no matter what, God is always going to be good and he's always going to be loving. And that is something that you can probably find joy in. So what's your devotion? Stay in it. No matter what it is you're going through, stay in it. Dig deep, endure the hardship, endure the trial, endure it on your knees, endure it in whatever way you need to endure it. But cling to God, and in doing so, find joy in that. Hey guys, as always, remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you can be made aware every time we put out a new video. And go bless somebody else today. Do something absolutely amazing for somebody else. Don't expect anything in return, and watch what happens in your life. We'll see you.